Yo, what's up, man? Let's get straight to it, man. It is your boy CD Rome back with another episode of Watching Air the podcast. Special pod today, of course. We are doing live commentary of a couple of games tonight for the league known as ZBL. So definitely looking forward to some yakety yak covering some things. But before we get there, I'm definitely going to discuss a game that we just witnessed. I wasn't able to give any live commentary to the game, but was still able to tune in to the game, watch the game. I'm also going to have a little bit of conversation regarding a game 2 nights ago, Kansas versus Oregon. Oregon was able to, as I would say, maybe squeak away with a win there. And then tonight, Oregon faced off against Syracuse and was unable to get the win. Really wasn't even that close of a game if we're just being honest. So while we have the time before our scheduled game, what I call the game of the week, Kansas versus North Carolina. Before we get there, we're gonna to just have a little bit of yakety yak, so to speak, with some of the games that we saw. So let's start with Kansas versus Oregon. That was 2 nights ago, Wednesday night. If I'm being honest, and I know I told this to, you know, one of the star players on the Oregon team, I feel like Kansas lost that game more than Oregon won that game. I mean, and to be honest with you, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, if you look at Kansas, as I talked about last episode, they're one of the more high potent offenses in the league. They only scored, 58 points when they're averaging 75. Yoke shot 4 for 11. Martin shot 7 for 19. And I mean, it just they 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 did not have a one of your standard offensive, at least from the two games that we saw. And yes, you could say you can credit a little bit of, that the defense from Oregon, but even with them shooting that terribly, I mean, they were one free throw away from possibly sealing the deal. And I'm just gonna get out here and say it. I know I sent some messages out to to some certain players to, well, really one specific player, and I was super disappointed in Martin's performance. And the reason why I was disappointed is because, you know, Martin is going to be the reason why this team either loses in the first round of playoffs or they win a championship. I mean, this guy is really good. I mean, he's really, really good. Reminds me of a young player that I played with early on in his career as well, Robinski, as far as just being able to just go and get a bucket and great 300. They go about it, of course, two different ways, but Martin is great at 300 and finding his three. Fell in love to me a little bit too much with it. Shot 5 for 14 from three, and if I'm just being honest, shot them out of the game. If I'm just being completely honest, to me, there was plenty of blown opportunities. Not to mention, of course, here in the screen, I don't not taking the game very serious at all. Not taking the team Oregon lightly, especially after making some comments and remarks to Will, that Robbie made sure he relayed the message. And I'll tell you now, man, play with Will before, won a championship with that guy. Uh, this is not nothing new. This is not, Will is that guy. So I wouldn't push buttons there if you don't have to, especially if you're going to push those buttons and then come out and just take the game lightly. I need you to, if you're going to talk, channel your inner Kobe Bryant. Don't come out there playing around. I was just super disappointed in the performance there. And, I know he can play better than that. And that's what I'm looking forward to in the next few minutes, or when this Kansas and UNC game happens, we're talking about UNC, one of the best teams in the league. So I'm sure we're not going to take that lightly. So let's see what happens. We'll get a chance to redeem ourselves. And going over to Oregon, Oregon, the one of the worst things that could have happened was them winning that game. And let me explain. When you win a game like that, especially when, as I mentioned before, Kansas lost that game more than Oregon winning that game. When you win a game like that, you can start to get maybe a little bit of false confidence, or maybe thinking that you may be a little bit closer to where you want to be as a team because you won, you really squeaked out a win. If it wasn't for Yoke missing that free throw and then completely a blown coverage by Martin, and twice, and even in overtime, twice blown coverage is just a loss of just no focus on his part, and I hate to be just bearing down on him, but hey, man, you need to hear it, So, but just to me, a loss of focus in that overtime that gave Oregon that win. And now you see them come out tonight, and I mean, I'm just gonna say lay an egg. Syracuse 0-2 so far in this, the season, and the ending score was Syracuse 63, Oregon 48. Second and third quarter, that's when this got out of control in the second quarter. I watched the game, and I did not like some of the shot choices by Rob during that second quarter. Just the offense seemed a little lost. If I'm just, I said the same thing about Texas, which we'll get a chance to see them tonight as well. 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. But I just was not impressed by the offense, especially coming into week 2. You would think that you would see an improvement there. You would see more chemistry, but it just I didn't it didn't look well. It didn't seem good to me. And of course, the proof is in the pudding. They had 2 quarters where one quarter they scored 6 points, another quarter they scored 9. Yes, you can accredit that to the defense of Syracuse. They really clamped down this game. I mean, they really, really clamped down this game. Keyshawn did exactly what I was expecting from him. 5 steals, 1 block. George, 2 steals, and was able to also, contribute as well. 13 points, 3 for 7 shooting from the 3. So we saw a little bit more activity from him as well. Also during that second quarter, usually end up shooting for the game 3 for 10, but during that second quarter run, I mean, he was hitting as well. That pick and pop was working very, very well. So to me, Oregon winning that game against Kansas sometimes can provide, like I said before, a type of false confidence. But I'm just anxious to see what happens going forward with Team Oregon, because right now they're kind of in that middle of the pack. I mean, they've 2-2 at this point, and week 3 will be very telling. And to be honest with you, with a loss like that against Syracuse and a barely a squeaked away a win in against Kansas, I don't know. I don't know, but I will say this, and this is not, I guess it's breaking news, but not breaking news, but I have some sources that tell me that moves may be on the horizon. I'm not just talking about for Oregon. I'm talking about a few different teams. So, don't feel like, your spot is sold up tight. we're gonna ride this thing out. And if captains are trying to ride this thing out, especially with captains that are losing, yeah, you are not doing your role as a captain. I mean, you have to make sometimes hard, tough decisions that will, affect, sometimes, friendships sometimes. But I mean, we all signed up for this thing to have fun. It's a part of it. I mean, you got to do what's best for the team. Sometimes, whether that's a trade, sometimes whether that's finding someone else to fit a different role, because we all know about, of course, the changing. Someone is now being cleared for activity. Josh, I reported that earlier this week with the changing of the schedule, and and hey, as I mentioned before, sources tell me that there is a lot of interest in Josh at this point. Um, has a couple different great builds, very high IQ, very versatile, can play big, can play a lock for certain teams that needs a little bit more defense on their team. Can definitely a reliable shooter at this point, someone who can, knock down shots as well. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with with the squad here. Now, we are still waiting to see this screen come up here to see whether or not when we're about to get into some live actual action here. But before we get there, we're actually going to have a guest commentary come to the show to help commentate here. Very, very special guest. And we have him coming in now. He'll be arriving here. Very, very special guest to the show. And just want to make sure I say that we are live. Welcome to the show. And if you're talking, you're on mute.
What's up, bro? What's up?
What's happening, man? What's happening?
And nothing much. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. And guys, it is not a fluke. It is not this is not a this is actually happening right now. Uh this is BG, Brandon Grimes. It's all Brandon Evan Grimes or Elijah. I always just kind of throw the E out there and just make up something there.
I
But
mean, either one's right, but it's better than Jizzle. So,
BG, oh, you should have said it. You shouldn't have said it. It's definitely going to be said the rest of the show. B Jizzle in the
man.
house, man. No, but seriously, BG, welcome to the show. Of course. So what I was just discussing there before I got you in was just the last game, which was Team Oregon versus Team um, Syracuse. Syracuse was able to pull out a victory, 63-48. Of course, now we're awaiting the live stream from one of the teams from Team Kansas or from Team. And as a matter of fact, I think we do have a live stream up now. Let's see if I can get us pulled in to the live action. But of course, oh, here we go. Yep, we do have it pulled up. Whose screen do I want to visit? Do I want to see this from the lenses of a dominant big, or do I, you know what, because of what I stated, I actually want to see this from the eyes of the young fella. We're going to jump into the live screen of one call Skywalker. Martini.
Daenerys and
Martini.
Ryan. Yeah.
So we're gonna pause.
Yeah. Daenerys was 2 for 10 and Brian was 0 for 3.
We're gonna mute them. Give me something here so I can. I'll tell you what. We'll stop sharing until the live action there. I'll let them kind of. And everyone's gonna get a piece on my offense. So talk about that there. But hey, you are Of course,
Not
commissioner
this is all not to say that your
of
offense was bad. Yo, you
MMA.
ran the offense well.
How are things going? How are teams looking? How's my old pal Ace doing over there?
All right. So teams are looking all right. It's actually I think like once we got through the first quarter, so we're doing a 16 game season, and we are
Ooh,
now 6 games
I feel like
in.
my knees hurt.
Yeah,
Um,
Pause.
and I don't. Oh, by the way, I don't know. I'm still hearing Martin's stream.
a little bit. Okay, all right.
But yeah, so we're six games in. Some teams kind of struggled early. One team got really hot early. They started off 4-0. Uh, but there's literally like it's literally 1 game difference between each seed. Like the first seed is 5-1, second seed is 4-2, next is 3-3, then the next one is like 2-4, and so on. And I feel like teams have kind of started finding their strides. So we had 3 games played last night, and I think there wasn't any blowouts. I mean, my team, we kind of pulled like we won by about 20, but it was close the entire game until like the fourth. I don't know what the wheels kind of fell off for the other team, but it
Yeah.
was a battle the entire game. And that's how all the games went. Pretty much this past week, all the games were close. So games have been fun, they've been interesting. And then Ace, his team right now, they were in second until my team pulled out a win. So they're in third. They're kind of, I think they're looking for an identity. So
Hmm. Yeah,
um
and that you see a lot of early on in the season. I'm seeing that a lot also in the ZBL. A lot of teams are looking for, that identity, whether it's offensive or sometimes even defensive. You just see a difference. So, just to talk about ZBL here. So this is a huge game here. So UNC, they are currently undefeated, best team in the league. Kansas started the week out, came into this season or this week rather 2-0 as well. They, to me, blew a game against Oregon, which I kind of covered before you entered. And so now we find ourselves to me two of the top teams in the league. Great shot by Petty there. Two of the top team in the league going head to head to see the supremacy who's going to be, one of the top teams here. Now the last game, uh, Martin shot 7 for 19.
mm,
So I'm anxious to see, and Yotes showing at the 2 there. That's interesting. I don't know what that's interesting, but I want to see, Martin definitely play a lot better. He was definitely not as focused there that to me that last game, or not as taking the game as serious as we're accustomed to seeing from a championship player. So hopefully we see a little bit better of a showing there.
so you guys went with college theme. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, college team theme. And I need to be able to hear. Let's see here.
Keep going, Neil.
It's fine.
Tell you what, this is what we're going to do because I don't want to necessarily hear. I want to hear the live action of the game without actually hearing players. And I'm pretty sure Austin has his channel. Well, he may be the only one we may hear talking there. Yeah, so yeah, college theme for the season. Oh my goodness. Great.
Ooh, good recovery.
Yeah, great recovery there
Oh.
by Hunter.
Ross is never going up first time.
Yep.
Ever.
That
I
may
guess
be very true.
so I was about to say some things never change, huh?
That may be very true there. It's got a
So
time.
I gotta ask you, so like who's the favorite? I guess is UNC the favorite? They're undefeated. Are they the favorite in your opinion?
Yes, and I said that they were my before the season even started. They were my pick to win it all. They're my favorite. Them, and so I knew that I felt like they would be right there at the hunt of one, 2, and 3, along with Kansas and Syracuse. Those
You're
were
back.
top three picks there. Syracuse started out pretty slow. They were 0-2 in week one, but they did bounce back with a huge win against Oregon tonight. I mean, 63 to was it 63 to 48? It's a pretty dominant win.
Who's on or who's the I guess who's the captain of Syracuse?
That's Keyshawn's the captain, star player, first, number one pick, of course, Ajante, and George and Uzi playing vital roles, and then their fourth rounder was Johnny, who's been playing very solid defense and shooting a very high percentage as well. So been
Hmm.
playing a good role.
Yeah, that's good to see. I
Yeah,
like this game looks like right now it's a little sloppy, a little
it is.
slow.
It is.
Um, both teams a little bit like I'm not gonna say frazzled, but they're putting up quick shots and it's not
Yeah,
looking like the best offense right now.
yeah. I would good shot. Yeah, and another thing that's important to note as well that team North Carolina, they are missing one of their star players tonight. Um, out with a sore shoulder. Greg is he's out, so it's a big loss there. Um, did replace it with a serviceable. Oh man, nice move there. Nice move. Did replace him with a very serviceable replacement, Lion Watkins. Um, Actually, oh my goodness,
Mm.
that's a big shot. Uh,
So
with Lion Watkins, who supposed to be on the show tonight, but of course had to fill in. So with Greg being out, good.
uh, I was gonna ask you, what do you? So I don't, obviously I haven't been watching too much, but what has been like with UNC, being 4 and or what was it 4-0 or what was
They're
their
two and
record?
zero. They're two and
Two
zero.
and zero. With them being 2-0, what have they been doing? I mean, obviously missing Greg is a big piece, but what have they been doing that's made them so,
If
so
if
so
I was
good?
to think of a team that I could compare them to, I would probably say grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies.
Mm,
They're out rebounding teams by a
That's
long
all
shot.
Mart knows how to do. He has
Uh,
no sort of creative mind on offense
26. They're
whatsoever.
averaging as a team 26 rebounds. I put it this way: Austin is averaging 14 and a half rebounds, and
mm.
Team Kansas is averaging 14 and a half rebounds. The
Wait,
entire
excuse me, excuse me.
yeah
Oh
yeah
wow.
the entire team is averaging 14 and a half. He's doing that by himself, and also the same thing for Team Syracuse as well. Why did he pump fake? Okay. Uh,
Mm.
Same thing for Team Syracuse as well. They're
Nice
averaging
one.
like 14 rebounds a game, and as I mentioned, Austin is averaging 14 and a half. So, and Phil is getting 6.5 boards. Greg and JP there, I think 2 boards apiece. So I mean, and even Petty is averaging 1 rebound. So the entire team is, crashing the glass, getting rebounds, and they're getting second opportunities, and that's what's helping them. But on the flip side, Team Kansas, they're leading the league in scoring. They're averaging 75 points a game. So offensively, they're just, they're a deadly team.
Mm.
Hardness, good take there, good take. Tight contest there, man. Surprised he made it. Martin is averaging, I think, 28 and a half points. Yoke's averaging about 18 with 7 assists. And even Hunter is averaging about 6.5 assists with, you know, almost, darn near a triple double, so he's playing fairly well as well. So
Man,
it's two different styles here, is what we're seeing, so far. As I mentioned, Kansas, I know they're going to come out sharp just because they just laid an egg against Oregon. So, and that not to mention taking advantage of, you know, injured UNC team. So, good shot there.
man, I think just looking at this, UNC's got to make an adjustment pretty quick, or this is gonna get out of hand.
Quickly. Yeah, down 14. And that's one of the things, with the UNC team, they're not, one of the more high powered offensive teams, but where, my keys to, oh man, nice finish there.
Good finish.
my keys to winning this game for UNC was they have to crash the glass, make sure that Kansas and this right here, these back doors. I mean, you got to stop the back doors. This has happened a few different plays now.
Yeah, and I mean I played against Austin a few times on this build, and he's good finishing, but so far Hunter's holding him down. I mean he's getting some baskets by getting a slip on the pick and roll,
To that,
but we saw Hunter get a couple blocks too. So
yeah,
Oz kind of like we saw the one where he pump faked. He's reconsidering just going straight up now. So
yeah, yeah. Oh man, good steal, good read
that's a
there.
good
I'm not
steal.
seeing this. The spacing is a little bit
I'll
off
wait for him to reach.
as well. Come back out.
Hmm.
The spacing is just a little bit off. That's a oh, man. I thought that was for sure it's going to be a pull.
Switch back, Lane.
As we're watching, like I'm wait till they come back down the court. Great rebound.
Good defense there. Way to stop the break.
Yep, one man show stopping the break there.
Wow.
Yeah, and what Greg provides for this team as well is just and this. I mean, definitely going to be an offensive surge that they're missing. Those timely buckets that you need. When right now them struggling to get a bucket, this will be the time where Greg would, be able to take over and maybe get you, 4 to 5 quick points to kind of get you just back close to where you need to be because that's a wide open three. Ooh, man, you know, and usually that's an automatic for Yodi.
That's their one.
Yeah, and the other thing Greg does
Right now.
pretty well, he play makes.
Yeah.
So, that's a big loss there. I think from my experience, now I haven't been able to play with Lion this 2K yet, but he's not the best playmaker. He can get a bucket, but I don't think he's the best playmaker. So you taking that away, um, and plus the consistency and chemistry. You've been playing with a player,
Oh, for
I'm sure they
sure.
practice.
Come on, Line. You gotta
So,
shoot that. You got wide open.
not having him there kind of throws things off as well, which I mean everybody knows that. So,
Yeah, and just then, Austin just said it. I mean, I don't know what happened there. Was he lagging? I mean, that's usually a shot that line would take. That's the thing about being a reserve. You want to come in and
mhm.
hey, I just reserved for a team in the MMA, and I mean, I went 0 for 6. Man, I didn't shoot the ball great at all. But for me, I was just trying to not be a negative, so to speak. I was still able to provide some assistance on assisting the giving assists to the team or whatever. But the one thing you don't want to do is reserve. You don't want to come in and shoot the ball too much. But in Lions' case, you're replacing Greg, and so you have to be aggressive here. I think in order for this team to make
You're
this
right.
a closer game.
Yeah, I just saw the box score too. And Lion is 2 for 7. So I don't know if he's getting
Right.
into his head.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
said, as a reserve, you don't want to come in and
Arch.
the last thing you want to do is be in the way, pretty much. So,
yep,
um, and now got it. The palm sweat starts to come out. They're headed
My
towards the
sister.
second half,
I think it's back.
down double digits. Um, you start second guessing some stuff.
yep. And
Whoever's
this
in
is
the
a
other
pool
hash
right
got
here, and that
help
is
on
a
that screen because I'm low.
I don't know if that's the way I don't know if that's the way to play Martin. Playing a drop coverage from the screens there. I mean, yes, we've seen him shoot terribly, but the way 2K works, shot terrible one game, the next game you're going to be hitting.
Yeah. I and man,
See,
UNC's spacing is
there,
is
there, yes,
is terrible right now,
yeah,
honestly. I know Oz can't shoot on that build, so they have to. I mean, just looking at it, I think they got to limit some of the cutting around him.
yeah.
Um, Maybe even have him instead of coming up like to the free throw line, maybe stand in the dunker spot, get some action there, pull Hunter to one side and then have a cutter from a reverse side or
Put
something.
some
But right now they're having
mixing
like
for
two,
him.
three cutters at once. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's way too much because Hunter's going to be able to at this point. Like to me, the offense has to. My two
Phew.
important pieces of this team is Petty and Field. Petty because of the three hunting because Austin can't shoot. Petty has to be a threat coming off the screen. Like he has to come off the screen ready to shoot, and he has to hit a high percentage as well. Because what that does is now that forces Hunter to step up out of the paint, which then that allows the cuts to start happening. Then that opens up JP. That opens up, Greg, in this case, Lion, this game. But he's shooting 2 for 6, 2 for 9 from the field, Petty that is. So not hitting consistently right now, which is also probably causing the clog of the paint right now because Hunter
Mm-hmm.
is just at this point you're shooting that bad. Hey, I'm just gonna play drop and make sure nobody gets backdoor cuts.
Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing too, so we actually my team just scrimmaged UNC just last week, and I noticed the same thing. Like
Shot.
with Austin's lack of shooting on that build, we were thinking maybe Petty was gonna come off the screen and be ready to pull like some faders or something, and it just it wasn't falling. And
Yeah.
now with Greg, like we played them, they had Greg, so with Greg not there, it's a big, like, you can tell the difference just watching the
One
team.
second.
Huge difference. I mean, look at that. Look at that. They couldn't even get a shot off right there.
Yeah.
Lion didn't want to mess up his percentage. JP, and the thing about it, this game, and this is where as a captain, like you have to have certain conversations with certain players,
So like, why is he wide open there?
and you
I
and
don't
you
understand.
also have to trust your team. JP, one of the averaging, very high points there, 0 for 3 right now, but he can't play the same role he plays when Greg's on the floor. Like right
Right.
now, there has to
Right.
be you got to get him maybe in the open court, cutting by like him only one cutting. Uh, but I don't know. It's just
I need somebody to get the lion or the goat in the corner.
Yeah.
he just looked
No.
discombobulated just a tad bit.
Yeah, and the bad part right now too, not just the shooting woes is one thing, but they're looking like, like they're scrambling on defense too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know, we spend a lot of time talking about like UNC, maybe, I don't know, Kansas, they look very settled. Like, look at the spacing right there. It's one man screen.
That's a shot.
Martin has all day to shoot, and
Mm,
there's not a bunch of cutting going on, and he's able to, with that space, any shooter is going to hit that.
right. Yeah. Somebody has to help on the screen. I don't, you know, hey, maybe that's the plan to do a drop coverage there. Like that was a bad cut, I mean, it just have to lead to an open lay, wide open,
And
and one.
finish and one. I mean,
Okay.
What can they do to turn this around? UNC.
man, right here. So one thing they've got to take it, kind of like the the Rocky saying, one punch at a time, one step at a time kind of thing. Like, they got to start with getting one stop at a time, and then now see, even that was a good basket for Lion. You notice when
Okay.
he went up, JP was standing right next to him.
Exactly. So
Uh,
yeah, unsolicited cuts. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if, since we can only hear Austin, I don't know if they're communicating or calling out cuts, if Petty's telling them who he wants cutting or anything like that. It doesn't seem like it, but I mean, they've got time. It's not a lot of time left. They're down 21, but game's not over yet.
Yeah.
And I just think, just watching this, they got to make some kind of drastic adjustment
Oh,
quickly. Oh man, and wow, Yoke blew an open one, but even that space, like, you can't give him. I guarantee Yoke gets another shot like that wide open, he's making that.
Oh,
Can't
for sure.
These breakdowns can't keep happening if you're gonna try to make a comeback.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to
all right.
think
So I
too
gotta be
far
Ross.
ahead
I gotta
there,
be Ross.
but I and I know they're not going to do it. It's just one game, but they have a follow up game. Ooh,
Man,
man,
that's
what a
fire.
shot! What a shot by B Ross there. Uh,
Mm, mm,
they
mm.
have another game right after this, and if I'm not mistaken, they're playing against Texas. Which, if Texas,
Wow.
if I'm Texas and I'm
Yeah,
watching this
shot the
game,
basket. It's all good.
I'm going to definitely take some of the defensive things that they're doing there. But if I'm UNC, I would really consider be only because Greg is out. Petty going to big and Austin switching to maybe a point. Um, and that's only because Greg is out. I think typically this team can fare very well with Austin at the position that he's at.
Wow. Man, I have no words. I played against Austin, seen him dominate centers.
Hmm.
Hunter is putting on like a master class in defense right now.
Yeah,
This is this is different. I don't know what's he been averaging like blocks wise and so forth or
yeah, 2 blocks a game. It's either 1.5 or 2 blocks a game. I mean, he was first round, bottom of the first pick wise, because of number one, centers are, very, very important in this game. Of course, before the season, knockdown shooter, and of course, Hunter's always has been one of my favorite bigs to play with because he's going to play his role. Not going to complain too much, but as you saw
That's his
there,
uh that's
center
his take.
screen, he's either
That's
going to
his take.
pop, which he can hit,
Those
or he can
screens.
roll. And I mean, then he's going to get rebounds. So he's going to do what he needs to do. Good lay there. But no, he's been playing fairly well. As I called him the Jokic of this team because he's averaging about 6.5 assists as well. So
wow. Wow. Yeah, he doesn't force
oh,
much.
yeah, that was a forced shot there by. Oh man, I needed that one.
Hmm. Man, 22 point difference. I mean, they almost have to be perfect from here on out to make a comeback.
Yeah, and the way that they're defensively, all the miss, like people are just being open. I've seen Yodi have, you know,
Wow.
wide open, wide open,
This is a good play call by Kansas.
and that's a shot.
Man.
Oh yeah, yeah, he had a shot. I think he over dribbled there.
Yep. Unselfish by Hunter, even though he missed to get the shot up to give his team a chance to get that rebound.
Yep.
I mean, and that's kind of those are little things too that add up to
That,
wins like
that
this. I
blown,
mean,
yep, blown back door. I mean, yeah,
this
you
is
can't
this is tough. This is
on
tough.
the road to a championship, and I know how important Greg is, but maybe not a 20 point game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Make it close, make it a challenge there, and good pump, good lob,
Good lob. Wow.
and that is what Hunter has been. Very, very crucial, making the right play, making the right read in real time. You know,
I mean, Kansas looks like I don't know. So I guess they lost the game tonight.
yeah, they did. They were two, and they were once again 2-0. This game here was game of the week for me. Two of the top two teams, and I mean Kansas. They laid. It was Wednesday that they lost 2 nights ago, and as I mentioned before, I know I haven't played with Yoda yet, but I just know from talking with him in the chats and just listening to him, I'm sure he had a conversation with his team, with Martin, after that game, especially with the way wide open
Mm,
cash.
mm.
I mean, just spread offense. Just then, I don't know if you seen like it was a 5 out offense. I mean, they let Hunter kind of make the play there. The play wasn't there. He kicked it back to Hunter wide open. I mean, just
Yeah, this I mean, and they look like a well-oiled machine. I'm sure if we were on their stream, we'd hear communication between all of them. They're communicating, they're moving the ball, they're not running into each other on the cuts. I mean,
yeah,
they look like a very well organized machine right now.
yeah,
And the other team, UNC, and it kind of does go down to, you're missing Greg. I don't know. I mean, apparently maybe he is a 20 point difference, with the way the way this game is going.
yeah,
But I mean, I'd be interested to see how the spacing looks when they have Greg as opposed to Lion with, while still having an also on a big that can't shoot.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, going forward, I don't know. Does this change game plans for teams when they play against UNC? Do they say, hey, we clamp Greg or
Rebound. Wow. What a rebound by Hunter there. Sorry.
yeah? I was gonna say, do we try to clamp Greg and then make everybody else beat us? Because that's what it looks like right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And and Lion is, as I mentioned before, serviceable replacement there. Has, of course, playing with this roster, you know, trying to gel in, last minute there. So of course you expect it not to be the same. Um, oh man, wow.
that looked like it should have been a flagrant.
Yeah, actually is, shooting 8 for 14, which is above 50%, from the field at this point, line that is. So I mean, just need a little more help from the others. Hunter, maybe they heard what the conversation was. Hunter, out rebounding Austin right now. So which this team, as I mentioned before, they were averaging, 14 and a half rebounds and the same as Austin by himself. So in this game right here, obviously Hunter is doing an excellent job of limiting the second chance opportunity that UNC usually live off of.
Man. And I'm assuming I think it was Yope was the captain of this team.
Yes.
He did an excellent job constructing the team. Two guys that can create their own shot with
Ooh,
himself.
ooh,
That's a tough move. That is tough.
nice move.
Yeah, with himself and Martin, and then you got B Ross and Hunter around him,
Yeah.
around them. Very unselfish, very not too demanding, and they can knock down shots. And apparently they can hold the paint down because this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
whew,
As you mentioned, masterclass. I mean, they, wide open. I mean, that's a high percentage shot for him. He's shooting at 50% there. Of course, 2K is how it works. At the end of the game, Petty not shooting very well, 4 for 15, 4 from 11 from three, was able to hit two back-to-back threes.
does this now in your head it's
Oh
it's
man, with
early.
the dime,
Great
what?
pass.
Hey,
Man.
the defender down, hit the wide open man.
Does
Yeah,
this kind of game facilitate obviously, I mean, we're gonna keep putting the I guess I won't say asterisks, but the disclaimer on it that they are missing Greg, but does this kind of game make you second guess lineups like overall? Because they're
yeah. If I'm North Carolina, yes, their next game they're going to play Texas. Texas is not as a high powered offense as this Kansas team. They're going to, their center play is way different. They got Chris on Team Texas, so we're talking about a completely different center. Um, man, Hunter shot 10 for 13. What a game by B Ross, man. 7 for 7, 2 for 2 from three. Hit all, did not miss a shot, ladies and gentlemen. 20 points, 5 rebounds. So, and was able to match Phil's rebounds. And because that's the biggest thing for this UNC team. They live off of Phil offensive rebounds as well.
Well,
So the
now that we
rebound is
got time to
25
move
to
around, we
19.
got another game.
So great job by Team Kansas. Hunter showing why he is, was a
Maybe
first round
we couldn't
first
hit the
round
game
pick.
before neither though.
But
So
yeah, but to answer your question, I don't change the lineup when I have Greg. I still keep Austin at the center spot. I still keep Petty. And even going into the second game, outside of maybe some philosophy changes, of course, hoping that Petty doesn't go 4 for 16 from the field. We go back into the next game against Kansas or against Texas rather. Same game plan, maybe stop a little bit of all the cutting as we kind of alluded to,
yeah.
and and just play better defense, and I think they'll be fine. But we're it's early days. It's week 2. I mean, they started out 2-0, so I mean, I wouldn't panic yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. If I may share something, I I made some big moves with my team. So I'm a captain this season, and I traded a player, and I picked up a free agent within like I think we ran a practice and I made a move before we even played a full game. So I'm just interested to see. And I'm not saying there's anything to blow up, especially you started off 2-0 for a reason. So there's nothing,
Yep.
it's not as urgent as like a blow up or a reset. But I'm just interested to see just because we've played with Austin for some time, and at times he has a tendency to kind of turn it to, like, I guess for lack of a better term, hero ball, where he feels like he's got to take over. Now, you got a Petty and a Greg. You should never feel like you're alone on offense. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you got enough help.
For
But
sure.
my
For sure.
question is kind of becomes, does he ever make that change to guard? Just because I mean, you think about it, if you have Oss on guard, because game like tonight, you see another center that can hold Oss down. I feel like if he's on guard, just because of his skill set, he's much harder to stop on guard with a jump shot than he is on a big that can't shoot with with their spacing issues, at least from this game. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this game is, very specific. I will say, Austin being the captain, he does have unlimited bills as well. And
mm,
you know, hey, there may or may not be another center in the making. Who knows? But I know that the center he has, that was his first bill. So of course 2K has showed exactly what you can and cannot do with bills, and now also you got your plus fives now that everybody's starting to get. So you know there could be a change there to add with the center spot. But for sure, I think that, hey, they're 2-0 for a reason. They ran up against to me, one of the better teams in the league right now, especially offensively. Kansas. They had, to me, this is probably one of Kansas' best games this season. So I wouldn't hang my hat, but depending on what happens with this next game, this Texas, because I don't know if I mentioned Texas is 0-2 right now.
mm,
So you don't want, regardless of who's there, Greg or no Greg, I don't want to lose against this team. I don't want to let them feel like they're, even in the same space.
mhm.
It's going to be interesting to see, next game. So I tell you what, speaking of that, we are going to cut it here, guys. Please join us on the next episode. We will be commentating the Texas and the UNC game, that which will be coming to you shortly. But hey, you're gonna have to catch it on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in, man. Thanks, BG, for being here. It is Watch Your Narrative. We're out. Peace.